Remember when you promised yourself you'd start investing as soon as things settled down? And things never settled down. There was always a new bill, an unexpected expense, a kid who needed something, a month that was just too tight. And the years went by, one after another, quietly, without asking permission. And now you're 48, looking at your 401k balance, feeling that same gut punch you already know all too well. It's not a surprise. It's a confirmation. Confirmation of something you've suspected for years but never had the guts to say out loud. You've worked your whole life, and you're still starting from scratch. Hold on. Before you close this video thinking you already know what's coming, that I'm about to tell you to have more discipline, cut out your morning coffee, stop spending, take a breath. Because that's not it. And that's exactly where almost everyone who tries to help you gets it wrong. You didn't hit 48 with an empty 401k because you're lazy. It's not because you're bad with money. It's not because you're not smart enough. If that were true, millions of smart, hard-working, responsible people just like you wouldn't be in the exact same spot, staring at the exact same balance, carrying the exact same quiet shame nobody talks about at the dinner table. Here's the truth nobody's told you. The problem was never your willpower. The problem is you've been fighting a war against your own brain with the wrong weapon. And today, right now, I'm going to show you exactly why. And the exact system, tested and built specifically for people who are 45, 50, 55 years old, that builds $25,000 in 3 years completely on autopilot, without ever depending on your discipline again. This isn't motivational fluff. It's not theory. It's a system. And it works even if you've already tried and failed before. Especially if you've already tried and failed before. Stick around. Because the moment when all of this finally clicks, the moment you understand exactly where your decade went, is coming. And it's about to change how you see the next 20 years of your financial life completely. Before we go on, if that feeling of I started too late has crept in at night more than once, drop a comment below with the word late. I want to know how many of you are carrying this weight alone, and I promise you, you're not the only one. And subscribe to the channel, because this is just the first step of a full rebuild we're going to do together, video after video. Let me tell you something that's going to sound obvious, but almost nobody really gets it. You never had a money problem. You had a repeated decision problem. Every single month for 20 years, your brain had to choose between spending now or saving for later. And every time that choice showed up, the present won. Not because you're weak, because that's just how the human brain works. There's actually a name for it. Present bias. The natural tendency to overvalue what's in your hand right now and discount, almost erase, the value of anything that only exists years down the road. Think about it. When you got that bonus a few years back, what happened to it? Did it go into an investment, or did it turn into a trip, a remodel, a nicer car? When there was extra cash left over some month, did it get saved, or did it quietly get swallowed up by your lifestyle without you even noticing it was ever there? You didn't decide to spend it on purpose. There simply wasn't anything standing between the money showing up and the money walking right back out the door. And that's exactly where the blind spot that stole your decade is hiding. You treated saving money like it was a willpower issue, when really, it was an architecture issue. Here's the hard pill to swallow. Understanding this bias isn't enough to beat it. Study after study shows the same thing. People who know exactly what present bias is still fall for it, decision after decision. You can know all of this right now, and if it still comes down to deciding every single month, you're going to lose again. Reading about discipline doesn't give you discipline. Knowing you should save doesn't make you save. So here's your first real move, not a theory. Today, pick a bank different from the one you use day to day, a separate bank, a separate app, and open an emergency fund there. Not for the interest rate, for the friction. That extra 30 seconds to log in is enough to stop most impulse withdrawals dead in their tracks. You're not just saving money. You're building the first wall between you and your own impulsiveness. That wall doesn't need you to be a different person tomorrow. It doesn't need willpower once it's built. It just sits there working for you while you go on living your normal life. It's the first proof that the problem was never you. It was the total absence of any structure between your intentions and your money. Hold on to that thought, because it's coming back stronger in a bit. You don't need more discipline. You need fewer decisions standing between your paycheck and your future. Here's something maybe nobody's ever told you. Being smart and having money saved are two completely different things. You can be the sharpest person at your company, solve complicated problems every single day, make tough calls under pressure, and still hit 48 with a 401k that's basically empty. That's the rule, not the exception. Because money doesn't answer to your intelligence. It answers to your system. Or the lack of one. Think about the decisions that got you here. None of them, on their own, felt dangerous. Trading in the car because the old one felt outdated, even though it still ran fine. Paying just the minimum on the credit card because this month's just tight. Keeping a subscription active because canceling felt like a hassle. None of those choices, by itself, wrecked your finances. But together, repeated year after year, they quietly built the hole you're staring at right now. Nobody warns you that small, innocent choices made hundreds of times become your whole destiny. And here's the part that stings the most. While all that was happening, you were probably also paying account fees you didn't even know existed. Fees buried inside your 401k eating away at your returns without ever showing up anywhere. And insurance you never once shopped around for because you simply never had the time. Each one of those leaks looks small on its own. Add them up over 20 years, and they're the difference between having $25,000 saved or being $80,000 short of where you should be. So here's your second real move. Over the next 7 days, pull up your last 3 months of bank statements and list every recurring charge you haven't actually used in the last 4 weeks. Cancel it. The average person finds between $80 and $150 a month in subscriptions they flat out forgot about. This isn't about depriving yourself. It's about plugging the holes your future's been leaking through without you ever noticing. And while you're at it, do one more quick thing that's a total game changer. Call your car insurance and ask for a rate review. Then, call a competitor for a quote. Insurance isn't a fixed price. It's a negotiation. And most people never question the rate they got on day one. People who make that call save, on average, $400 to $700 a year. That's not luck. That's just paying attention when nobody else is. Every leak you close isn't just one less dollar leaving your account. It's a signal to your brain that you're finally back in the driver's seat after 20 years of watching money slip through your fingers unnoticed. Now stop for a second. What I'm about to tell you is the whole reason this video exists. It's the missing piece in everything you've heard so far. You spent the last 20 years trying to solve the wrong problem. You thought you needed to be more disciplined, want it more, push harder, have more willpower in the moments when money passed through your hands. And every time you failed, you filed it away as one more piece of proof that you were bad with money. One more piece of proof that maybe you just weren't cut out for this. But here's the truth that changes everything. Willpower isn't a reliable resource. It never was. It swings with your sleep, your stress, how many decisions you've already made that day. Every serious study on financial behavior lands on the same conclusion. The people who actually build wealth aren't the ones with more discipline. They're the ones who need less discipline because they took the decision out of the equation. Stop. Read that again, because it flips everything you've heard in the last few minutes on its head. You didn't fail to build wealth because you failed as a person. You didn't build wealth because for 20 years, nobody ever taught you to build a system. They only ever taught you to try harder. And willpower doesn't scale. Systems scale. Think about every time you beat yourself up for spending what you should have saved. Every night you felt like a financial failure, measuring your life against people who just know how to handle money. They don't know more than you. They just stopped relying on knowing. They built structures that keep working even on the days their own willpower is running on empty. Because it does run out, that's just being human. The difference was never character. It was the engineering behind the decisions. That's it. That's exactly it. That separate account you opened a few minutes ago wasn't some small trick. It was live proof that when you remove the decision, the behavior changes on its own. Those subscriptions you canceled weren't just savings. That was you. For the first time in years, beating the system instead of the system beating you. Now picture that not as two isolated moves, but as one full sequence, built specifically for people between 45 and 60 who don't have decades left to spare. A sequence where every month, every dollar moves in the right direction automatically, without you having to remember, decide, or resist temptation. This exists. It has a name, and it works at any income level. It's the 3-year system, and that's exactly what we're getting into now. Here's something nobody tells you about this system. Money isn't the first thing that changes. It's the last. The first thing that changes is who you are. Think about the moment you make that first automatic deposit of $25 into your investment account. On its own, that amount doesn't buy anything. It doesn't cover a bill, doesn't wipe out a debt, doesn't even show up on your monthly budget. But in that instant, something shifts in you that has nothing to do with the number. You stop being the person who's someday going to start investing and become the person who invests. Present tense, not future. And it's wild how a shift in identity that small can rearrange decisions that used to feel impossible to change. You've already seen this play out somewhere else in your life. The first time someone quits smoking for good isn't when their body stops craving the cigarette. It's the day they start seeing themselves as someone who doesn't smoke. Behavior follows identity, not the other way around. Money works the same way. Once you see yourself as an investor, even with a small balance, every decision after that gets easier because it has to line up with who you decided to be. That's why year 2 moves so much faster than year 1, even with zero change in income. You didn't get more disciplined. You became a different person in your own eyes, someone who's already proven you can live without that debt payment the second it's gone, and who knows exactly where to redirect that money without a second thought. And that's exactly why I need you to understand this. The first few months are going to feel too small to matter. $25 here, 50 there. But every one of those quiet little wins is rewriting the story you tell yourself, from I was never good with money to I'm someone who builds even slowly. And that second story is the one that carries you all the way through, long after any initial motivation has worn off. There's a side effect to all this almost nobody mentions. You're going to stop comparing yourself to the neighbor with the new car, the friend posting vacation photos, the brother-in-law renovating his kitchen. Not because you learned to ignore it, but because now you've got your own number climbing month after month, and watching your own progress feels more satisfying than any comparison ever did. Real net worth is invisible on social media. So is debt. The only thing you can actually control and the only thing that matters is your own line going up even slowly, even with nobody watching. I need to tell you something hard before I tell you the good part. You're not getting the last 20 years back. That time is gone. The opportunities that passed have passed. I'm not going to pretend there's some magic shortcut that hands back what's already behind you, because every promise like that is a lie. And you've heard enough lies about money to not deserve one more. But here's the good part, and it's real. You don't need the last 20 years back. You need the next 20, in full. And those, nobody's taken from you yet. They're sitting right where they've always been, waiting on the first decision. Remember what we figured out together today? That the problem was never you being weak, undisciplined, or bad with numbers. The problem was spending 2 decades fighting a war against your own brain with willpower, a weapon that eventually fails everyone at every stage of life. Now you know what actually works. System. Automation. Decisions made once that keep repeating on their own month after month without depending on how you happen to feel that particular day. This isn't motivational fluff that evaporates by tomorrow morning. It's architecture. And architecture, once it's built, stays standing even on the days you don't feel like continuing at all. So here's your one job today. Before you do anything else, open your banking app right now while this video's still on your screen and set up an automatic transfer, even a small one, to go out on your next payday. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to exist, because the day you automate that first decision is the day you stop being someone who tries and become someone who builds. 3 years from now, some 48-year-old is going to be sitting exactly where you are right now, staring at an empty balance, carrying that same weight in their chest. The only question that matters is, are you going to be the one who finally told them there was still time, or one more proof that there wasn't? There's another video showing up on your screen right now, and it walks you through exactly what to do if, on top of that empty 401k, you're also carrying credit card debt that never seems to shrink. It's the second half of this story, and on its own, what you learned today is the foundation. With that video, it becomes a full rebuild. Go watch it now, while this decision's still fresh in your head. Because 3 years from now, you're going to remember exactly the day you stopped waiting for things to settle down on their own.